Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Layman's Perspective, the show where I changed my desk, and if you don't like it, too bad. Change is good for you. Today will be the beginning of my breakdowns of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a Marvel Disney Plus show, starting with episode 1. As always, spoilers ahead, so proceed at your own risk. You have been warned. Now this was a good start, I think. My immediate worry before sitting down to watch this morning was that I worried that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was not going to be able to command the same amount of pop culture attention and speculation that WandaVision has for the past month and a half. I think tentatively now that worry has been dispelled. I think that episode 1 set up a lot of good stuff, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think a lot of other people will be too. Let's go into why. We start off with Sam getting ready for the later scene that we see of him donating Cap's shield to the Smithsonian. And as he's tucking Cap's shield into the bag, we hear old Cap's soundbite from the end of Endgame, where, he asks Sam, how does it feel? And Sam replies, like it's someone else's. Cap says, it isn't. He mentions this again later on in the Cap exhibit with Rhodey, and I think it signifies what's going to be a central theme for the show, identity. Sam isn't sure of who he is as a person and as a hero, and, for whatever reason, doesn't think, let's just say right now, Anthony Mackie's acting is already on point. And even though he hasn't told us, the audience, why you can read the emotions on his face like a book, he doesn't think, for one reason or another, that he can measure up to what he thinks it would take to be the new Cap. Likewise, Bucky doesn't quite seem to know who he is now that he's been removed from the Winter Soldier alter ego. And I think that he's going to have to go on a similar journey of self-identification. It's obviously going to end with one of them becoming the new Captain America. If you didn't know, both characters in the past, in separate comic runs, have become Captain America before. Falcon's had a run, and Bucky's had a run. While I personally think that it's going to go to Sam by the end of the show, I think it's way too early to draw a conclusion about what the plan is. Our next scene launches us right into Sam on a mission with the Air Force. And if you didn't know it was the Air Force, not only does he say it, but it says Air Force on the guy's little chest plate. Trying to stop a group of terrorists led by, who's that? What? Is that Batroc? Batroc? Barney? Yes, and just in case you missed it, if you didn't realize, that jacked French babe of a terrorist is Batroc the Leaper, the criminal who Cap exchanged fisticuffs with during the mission scene at the beginning of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. They didn't have to do that, this wasn't a necessary Easter egg, but it was a fun one, and it's stuff like that which is why the MCU is great, and it feels like such this big interconnected web of comic goodness. In general, from the get-go, the show is doing a great job of creating this high-octane, militant tone, which is completely aesthetically and totally different from WandaVision, I might add. This entire sequence is, in my opinion, the best action that we've gotten out of Falcon. I don't even think it's that much of a subjective take, honestly, if you think about all the development or lack thereof that he's gotten in the movies so far. The fight choreography is great, the aerial action is just nuts of him bobbing and weaving and flying around. You really get a sense that he has a mastery of the suit and the combat style that comes with it and all that it can do. And the suit itself, also looks great. It's looking fantastic. You guys know me, I love a good classic comic book suit, where his original suit in The Winter Soldier was nothing really more than just a military exoskeleton, or exosuit. It slowly evolved, getting like the red color and looking a little bit more bird-like as we go along, to the point now where he's got the red and the white accents. The wings look very bird-like with these metallic feathers that they seem to have when he's protecting himself from the bullets. And I think it looks fantastic. Red Wing also gets a little bit more attention and more things to do here. I like how, as he slides back into Falcon's pack, it gives him extra thrust. Red Wing's rocket does. Now, if you didn't know, the original superhero character Falcon also had a sidekick named Red Wing, but it was an actual physical Falcon. Because it's comics and things are weird, and the Falcon had a telepathic link, or maybe it could talk, or something like that. That's obviously not the direction they went in with this. They made him a drone, but it's still a cool nod. The only thing that snagged my attention on multiple rewatches is that, was Sam just murdering all all of these people? I mean, it makes sense. They're bad guys, they're terrorists, they have to die, but the MCU normally really tries to sweep death under the rug. Oh no, don't pay attention to the fact that all these people are dying. They were being really frank about what was going on here. People were blowing up. He blew up that helicopter, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. So presumably Sam killed a bunch of people and the show kind of glossed over it. But I didn't have a problem with that. I just was a little taken aback, if anything. Back on the ground, I thought it was pretty amusing how, for lack of a better word, amused Sam was with his soldier buddy, Lieutenant Torres. He warns Sam about a group called the Flag Smashers? Slashers? The hash-slinging slashers? Who are a post-snap terrorist group seeking to dissolve and end all international borders. They're likely going to be our antagonist, our main antagonist at least, for the entire runtime of the show. Back in Washington, Sam relinquishes Cap's shield to a Smithsonian exhibit in Cap's honor, not taking the mantle for himself because, again, of his aforementioned humility. Don Cheadle makes a brief cameo here as Rhodey, and we're treated to some Cap Easter eggs in the backgrounds of the exhibit as they chat. More notably including his original shield from when he was the Bonds spokesperson boy, and the motorcycle that he would ride around Germany in. And there's others too. I'm sure you guys could pick those out for me. Our next scene that we get is a flashback / nightmare that Bucky is having of his past as the Winter Soldier, wearing his old Hydra-era costume and murdering several people in total badassery. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this 45 seconds of Bucky kicking ass that we got was infinitely more satisfying. Get it? Infinitely? Infinity? Oh, God. Infinitely more entertaining and exciting than the entirety of both of his roles in Infinity War and Endgame. Because, I mean, come on. All the Russo brothers had him do. I give the Russo brothers a lot of flack. I gotta stop doing that. Joe and Anthony Russo, if you're 2 of my 40 subscribers, I'm sorry. I love you guys. But really, all they had him do was kind of just stand there and shoot a gun. This is what, meanwhile, I want to see from my Bucky. We see, though, that it was just a dream, and when he wakes up, interestingly, I want you guys to note that Bucky is sleeping on the hardwood floor in this scene, not a bed. I'm not sure if this is what they intended to do, but I saw this as a callback to Cap and Sam's first conversation where they bonded over the fact that they couldn't sleep on beds anymore. After serving tours and sleeping on the ground and using rocks for pillows, they thought beds were too soft. And I thought that it was a nod to Bucky also having that kind of preference, let's say. We find out through this session with his shrink that what he's been trying to do is move forward and make amends for his past actions as the Winter Soldier, going down a list and apologizing to people. We see that he doesn't really apologize to that senator so much as, turn her into the authorities. Now, I paused this scene with the list. I didn't recognize a lot of these names, but right in the middle, we do see H. Zemo, a.k.a. Baron Zemo, a.k.a., if you don't remember, the villain, the central villain from Civil War who kind of set all the cogs in motion and pit Cap and Tony against each other. He's set to appear again in this show. That's not a secret. He's all over the posters, and I think for even like a second he's in one of the trailers. So he's going to be in the show at some point. Really cool that they're bringing him back. Again, similar to what I said earlier, Bucky doesn't quite seem to know who he is or what he wants now that he has freedom and peace. And again, I really think that these shows are doing a great job of making us feel bad for our characters. It's really easy to just love them and laugh along and watch them kick ass and save the day, but WandaVision and now this are show, and also kudos to Sebastian Stan for doing a great job already again in one episode. These shows are showing us what, the dark side of being a hero is, their trauma, their PTSD, the baggage that they all carry, and I really love that. Now, if you were confused by the admittedly adorable friendship that we later see he's reared with the elderly Mr. Nakajima, tragically, we find out that it was his son that he had killed as a passing bystander in that earlier flashback. If you weren't able to infer this from the 2 times that we're told this by 2 different characters, we literally see it later in Nakajima's apartment in a little shrine. when Bucky goes to visit him after walking out on his date. Back with Sam, we get a peek into his background and family life when he visits his sister and nephews in Louisiana. And it's here where I really think I saw the Disney Plus format shine in all of its glory. What I mean by that is that, by their very nature, television shows with multiple episodes allow for us to get to know these characters in far more a detailed and intimate way than movies often have time to give us. This was certainly a strength of WandaVision, and I feel based on this scene that it's also going to be a strength of this show too, seeing the familial relations with his sister fleshed out. The setting also gives the show an opportunity to explore a very interesting theme. Right? Sam and his sister's inability to get a loan, despite the banker literally recognizing him as an Avenger, one of the heroes who saved the planet. Not just the country, the entire planet Earth. Let's let that sink in. Drew a very specific parallel, to my mind, to American soldiers, or just really soldiers in general. You know, specifically how individuals can be expected and depended upon to be heroes and to save us and to protect us from dangers and threats, only to fall by the societal wayside upon their return home. The scene's message was very clear. Even superheroes aren't taken care of all that well, despite how much good they do. We get a quick scene of Lieutenant Torres attempting to infiltrate the hash-slinging flag smashers in Switzerland, only to be physically apprehended by a suspiciously strong, like super soldier level strong, masked figure. He briefs Sam on what happened right before the final reveal of the episode. Now we see that the earlier figure who commended Sam for donating Cap's shield to the Smithsonian, saying that it was the right thing to do, is now holding a press conference on this news station where he introduces a new figure as Captain America with the vibranium shield, much to the dismay of Sam. This was a soldier named John Walker, and this is obviously setting up a conflict for the rest of the show, as well as what I believe will be its final thematic setup. Specifically, a similar situation played out in the comics, as often does. You know, directors of the movies and the shows like to loosely base their properties off of comic book storylines. It's one of the reasons why I think the MCU is so great. Anyways, specifically, a similar situation played out in the comics in the 80s. Cap steps away from the mantle of Captain America for political reasons, and because the United States government technically has ownership of the title of Captain America, they take it away from him, yoink, and they give it to a soldier who they think they can better control, named John Walker. Specifically, he's chosen over Sam Wilson. Sam's passed over in this situation because at the time, the government did not believe that the country was ready for a black Captain America. The setup here isn't exactly the same, but I definitely think that it's going to deal with very similar, if not identical, themes. Themes which I think are pretty important to the MCU right now, considering that last year we lost Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, whose T'Challa was an imperative cultural and racial representation that, in my opinion, the movies had been previously lacking. I'm not a social justice warrior by any means, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to cancel anything. I'm just objectively stating that a lot of the MCU consists of white dudes. So I don't know if this was their original plan or maybe they're course correcting now in the aftermath of Boseman's death, but I think that maybe they're going to try and build up Mackie's Sam Wilson a little bit more, try and fill the void that losing T'Challa will create. The episode ends on this reveal, with Walker giving the camera a cheeky little wink before the credits roll. Now, there were no end credits this time. I watched until the end. I always watch until the end, every episode, because I'm always writing notes and, the credits always finish. I'll tell you guys when and if the mid or end credit scene starts coming back, and I already hear some of you like, oh, well, I'm a Marvel fan, I always watch the end credits, but you'd be surprised how many people I talked to 2 weeks ago who didn't know that there were 2 credit scenes in the WandaVision finale. So, Uncle Dan will make sure to keep you informed on that. Don't worry. Again, I thought this was a really good start. I think people are going to get excited for this. I know I am. And I think already from the first episode we can see that it's both visually and aesthetically distinct from WandaVision. This really makes me excited for the rest of the Disney Plus shows, of which there will be several going forward, because it specifically gives me confidence that each show is going to have its own identity. After all, if you think about it, it's the Marvel movies with distinct direction and design that have claimed the top spots in the hearts of many Marvel fans, including myself. Think Captain America and the Winter Soldier, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther. The cool, unique, new direction movies always win out over the cookie-cutter superhero stuff. That's all I got for you, though, guys. Please feel free to leave any thoughts or theories or general comments in the comment section below. Make sure that you like this video, make sure you share it to your friends, and make sure that you're subscribed. If you're watching, you're not subscribed, and there's a couple of you out there, you stinkers that aren't subscribed, but you should be. I'll see you guys next week for episode 2.